At a gas station in Los Angeles this spring, the price on the sign reads more than $6 a gallon. A driver fills up his pickup, watches the total climb past $90 and pulls back onto the freeway. What he cannot see is what sits directly beneath that station, one of the richest oil basins on Earth. Billions of barrels of crude packed into the ground under the city itself. California pays the highest gas prices in America while it is parked on top of an ocean of oil. And it ships in most of its crude from the other side of the planet in tankers that cross the Pacific. So if the oil is right here, why does this gallon cost more than almost anywhere else in the country? Start with what Californians actually pay. In the spring of 2026, Metro Los Angeles sits between $5.50 and $6 a gallon. The national average is closer to $4. That gap runs about 40%, and it holds month after month, according to the EIA and AAA. This is not a bad week. It is the baseline, and the scale behind it is hard to picture. California burns through roughly 40 million gallons of gasoline every single day, more than most entire countries use. Every cent added to a gallon here gets multiplied 40 million times over before the sun goes down. Here's the part that does not fit. The oil never left. The Los Angeles basin has already produced more than 9 billion barrels of crude, which makes it one of the largest urban oil fields anywhere on the planet. Drive through Long Beach or Wilmington and you can still watch the pump jacks working between the houses. Around 20,000 wells sit under Los Angeles County, active, idle, and abandoned. Roughly 1 in 3 Angelenos lives within a mile of one. The Wilmington field alone still pumps about 46,000 barrels a day, and the USGS estimates it holds around 900 million barrels still worth recovering. The oil is not gone. It is under the freeway, under the schools, under the gas station charging $6. And the city did not just leave the oil there, it dressed it up. About a quarter-mile off Long Beach sit 4 small islands with palm trees, waterfalls, and tall, colorful towers lit up at night. Tourists mistake them for a resort. They are oil rigs. The Thumbs Islands were built in 1965 to pull crude out of the Wilmington field, and they are the only camouflaged oil islands in the United States. The disguise was written into law. Long Beach voters approved the drilling on one condition. It must not look like drilling. On the mainland, it goes further. Across Los Angeles, working derricks have been hidden inside fake office buildings, behind windowless towers, even dressed up as a church. For years, an active oil rig pumped from inside a decorated tower at Beverly Hills High School while students walked past it every morning. The oil is not just under the city. The city built walls around it so you would not notice. So where does the price come from, if not from scarcity? Start with taxes. California stacks roughly 86 to 90 cents of tax onto every gallon before anything else happens. The state excise tax runs about 61 cents, the highest in the nation. Add the federal tax of 18 cents, the state sales tax, and a small underground storage fee, and you are already near $1. Then comes environmental compliance, which the California Energy Commission puts at around 54 cents a gallon. Cap and trade adds about 23 cents. The low carbon fuel standard adds another 14 to 17. And the state requires its own special recipe of gasoline, the CARB blend, which costs more to make and adds 10 to 15 cents on top. That blend does something else too. It turns California into an island. No fuel pipeline crosses the Rocky Mountains to supply it, and only a handful of refineries on Earth can make the blend at all. So when one of them goes down, there is no easy backup, and the price spikes across the whole state at once. If a city sitting on its own oil fields while paying the most in the country to drive, is the kind of thing you wish more people understood, subscribe. That is the whole reason this channel exists. And that island just got smaller. In 2025, the Phillips 66 refinery in Wilmington shut down. In April of 2026, the Valero refinery in Benicia closed too. Together, those two closures pulled roughly 1/5 of California's refining capacity offline. Less in-state supply means more imported fuel, and not just crude anymore. California has started importing the finished CARB blend itself from refineries in Asia, carried across the Pacific in tankers. So the most expensive gasoline in the country increasingly arrives by ship from thousands of miles away to be burned over an oil field that is still pumping. One analysis from USC by Professor Michael Misha projected that if the closures and new fees keep compounding, California gas could climb as high as $8.44 a gallon by the end of 2026. That is a projection, not a guarantee. But it points in one direction. One outage at a remaining refinery, and the pumps across Los Angeles jump again. Now stack it all together. California is sitting on around 900 million recoverable barrels in the Wilmington field alone, and it imports about 70% of its crude from abroad. At the same time, a 2022 law requires a buffer of 3,200 feet between any new well and the nearest home or school. In a city as dense as Los Angeles, that math quietly ends new urban drilling. So the place that was built on this oil is steadily walking away from pulling it out of the ground, while the drivers who live directly on top of it pay more than almost anyone else in America to fill the tank. Think about what that means for a single tank of gas. The crude could come from a well a few miles down the road. Instead, it arrives by tanker from across the Pacific or through the Panama Canal, refined into a blend almost nobody else on Earth uses, taxed and surcharged at the highest rate in the country, and pumped into a pickup parked directly over the field it could have come from. And before you reach for a villain, here is the last number. Governor Newsom's office ran a 2-year investigation into California gas prices. It found no evidence of price gouging, no secret cartel, no smoking gun. The gap is not a conspiracy. It is a stack of choices, taxes, programs, rules, and closures, layered one on top of another, sitting above an ocean of oil that never went anywhere. This is not a political argument. It is simply what the numbers show. Once you start reading the numbers instead of the headlines, almost every city hides a contradiction like this one. Subscribe, because the next place sitting on a hidden fortune is one you would never expect.